Rev up your engines!
Well, I told you, Toyotas and Hondas can last a long time. Well, there's a Honda CRX that has 1 million miles on it. It still has the original engine and the original transmission. It's a 1991 Honda CRX SI. And it has 1,002,743 miles on that car. And it even has the original interior, although the exterior was painted 8 years ago. So you got a 30-year-old Honda with over 1 million miles on it, original engine and transmission, even the interior. If you take care of your car and you buy the right car, you can get an awful lot of mileage out of the thing with regular maintenance. The guy changed the oil. He took care of it. So when the owner, Randall Scott, took it to the Honda dealer for servicing, and they say, how many miles do you have? He said, I got 1,002,000 miles on this car. I've never heard of any 1,000,000-mile Korean cars, I'll tell you that. I've never seen one not even close to that. I have seen in the past stuff like Cadillac limos and stuff doing it, but they're on their third or fourth engines and transmissions, and they were limos that ran all the time. And that was back in the day, too. That isn't modern one. That's the old style ones that were huge, right? A little bitty car like that going 1 million miles, that says something about Honda. Barak says, Scotty, what are your thoughts on the new Nissan Z with a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 manual transmission? They're nice sports cars. Me, I'm too cheap. I never buy anything new. Where have they been around for years? Then I'll buy them cheap. Now, they say it's going to be under 40 grand. Now, to me, I've owned cars since I was 16 years old, and I've spent $7,000 on the total of them all added together. There's no way I'm paying 40 grand for one car. I think that's stupid. But if you got that kind of money, you want a fun sports car with a standard transmission, nothing wrong with that. It's an engine they already use an Infiniti. It's a strong, I believe it's 400 horsepower. That's a lot for a 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. It would probably be a lot of fun to drive around with a standard transmission. So we'll see when it comes out. Maybe someone will buy them. If you do and you want to take a trip to Clarksville, feel free, or to Rhode Island when I'm there in a few months, feel free to bring it by, and I'll make a nice video out of it, drive it around, analyze it for you free. Dave said, Scotty, I bought a new truck. The owner's manual says to have the dealer check the transmission fluid for deterioration every 12 months, and if it reads 77,000 miles, it needs changing. How are they going to check it for deterioration? They always want to sell you stuff, right? That's just how it goes. My advice is learn how to change it yourself, and I would change it every 40,000 miles. Be on the safe side. Fluid's cheap, transmissions are expensive, and I don't trust any dealerships. I had a customer once in Houston, went to a BMW dealership, paid for 3 complete automatic transmission fluid changes. Brought it to me after this had all been done over the years. Transmission wasn't working. I dropped the pan. It was like molasses gook. They had never even changed it once, and she paid for 3 total changes. So do it yourself. Then you know it's done. I don't trust anybody when it comes to that stuff. I know guys who work at dealerships. I know how it works there. Don't. Mr. Dan says, Scotty, I currently am working on a 2005 SS Silverado. Oil pan, plug, strip. Tried everything. What would you recommend? Depends on what the pan is. If it's an aluminum pan, you can rethread them. You can get a rethreading tool, you rethread it, and you get an oversized drain plug and put it on. Now, other people say, well, when you drill it and rethread it, metal fragments go in the engine. Yeah, in the bottom of the pan. Once you're done rethreading it, got it on, take it off. Pour a quart of oil in. The oil will go in, it'll flush it all out the drain, so don't worry about it. If it's a steel one, generally you have to replace them, or if you don't mind, they do make, you don't rethread them, they get oversized drain plugs that are self-threading, and you should be able to thread it in. I've done that before. I don't really trust the ones that you put in and you tighten them up. They're rubber. And when you tighten it up, they expand. I don't trust them. I've seen them pop out. I would only use metal ones myself. Patrick Henry says, my ABS works good. My car stops, but the pedal has a travel. It's kind of spongy. Spongy pedals. Here's the first thing you want to do. Turn the car off. Step on the pedal. If it's not spongy, it's hard. Then start the car. Start the car, and then it's spongy when you step on it. Your brake booster's bad. Replace the brake booster. Now, if it's not the booster, there's a lot of things. You can have air in the system. You can have a leak somewhere. You could have a problem with your ABS system. It may be working, but that doesn't mean that it's still not making it spongy. It keeps the brakes from locking up. There's a lot of solenoids. They get weak sometimes. They'll leak a little, and then they'll get spongy, but they'll work okay. You won't really notice anything, but the brake pedal will get low and get spongy. You really have to go high level. I've got a new scan tool from this company, ThinkCar. It's insane. It does all that testing. I'll go to the ABS system. First, I check it for codes. If there's codes, you fix them. If not, I'd go to the raw data. I'd road test it. I'd have the computer memorize a a 5-minute road test where I slam the brakes on and go, slam the brakes on and go. Then I'd go back and I would analyze all that data to see what's going on, because it could be the ABS system too. But just pray that it's something a lot simpler. It often is, like a booster. Or if you're not losing any fluid, if your master cylinder's bad, it'll do that. But then it'll do it whether you have the car turned on or turned off. It'll do it both ways. Mine Crew said, Scotty, I live in Calgary and I want to buy a secondhand car. What do you advise me to buy? Well, get one with a big trunk or back seat so you can fit hockey sticks in it, you know? I mean, I learned to play hockey in Toronto. You want a reliable car that you can do stuff like that? My Toyota Matrix, which is made in Cambridge, Ontario, is great. You can fit a lot of hockey sticks, goalie equipment, everything, because it's a hatch. You can put the back seats on and throw a ton of stuff in there. They're real handy, and they last almost forever if you take care of them. You know, so does a Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, Camry, Honda Accord. They're going to cost a lot more, but if you want a really nice one, I like those. Or you could get a later model Toyota Corolla hatchback, which is really a Toyota Matrix. Originally, the Toyota Matrixes were called Toyota Corolla Matrixes, then they just called them Matrixes, and now they call them Toyota Corolla hatchbacks, but they're really the Matrixes. Lurfu says, Scotty, what do you think of the reliability of the new Skyactiv G engines on Mazdas? They're pretty reliable from all the ones that I've seen. Back in the day, they had a lot of engine problems. And you know why they did? Because Mazda had a big relationship with Ford. They used a lot of motorcraft parts, especially variable valve timing camshaft stuff. They would break all the time. I've seen them shear off because they were Ford products and they were garbage. They got a lot of deals going with Toyota. The quality has gone up, up, up. I no longer see the engine problems in the Mazdas with the Skyactiv that I used to see when they were affiliated with Ford. Their quality is actually going up. So I wouldn't have any qualms about buying one. DT says, should I get a 2022 Tundra or an F-250 for towing? The new twin-turbo V6 makes me nervous for towing. I love the Toyotas. The Tundras are great trucks, but with V8 engines. You're going to get an F-250. Get the V8 engine. Get a naturally aspirated V8 engine. Don't get a turbo one. Don't get a GDI one. Get a regular, plain old fuel-injected V8, and those things can tow a lot and last a really long time. Now, some guys get diesels, but diesels are a different game. They're more for commercial people. When they break, they're very hard to fix. Hardly anybody knows how to fix them. It costs a fortune to fix them. If you don't care and you like diesels, go ahead and get the Ford diesel. But the regular V8 engine, gasoline, is a good engine for towing. Shedman says, Scotty, I'm a student in Canada. Which car would be best for delivery jobs? Honda Civic 1.5 Turbo 2016 or Honda Accord 214 to 17? The Accord by far, because you do not want a turbocharged car that's got a 1.5 liter engine. They also have oil dilution problems that you're going to be zipping all over the place. It's going to wear it out faster. The Accord rides better. It's a much more solid vehicle for 2014. You're not talking about a turbo one. You're talking about a non-turbo one. It's going to last a lot longer. You'd probably be a lot happier with that. Yeah, you'd like zipping around a Civic if you're a young student, but the Accord's going to last a lot longer. Kurt MT says, Scotty, my dad has an 04 Chevy Kalos. That's basically a Daewoo. With 60,000 kilometers, it's an endless money pit. What's your opinion? I agree entirely. You know, Daewoo was its own company. It almost went bankrupt. Other companies bought them. Then GM bought them. Now it's not even called Daewoo. It's called GM Korea when they make the cars there. Not the greatest cars in the world. They're okay stump jumpers from going from one stump to another, not going far, not putting too many miles on them. But hey, you got what, 60,000 kilometers? That's like, I don't know, 30-something thousand miles. And it's been a money pit. Tells you right there. They're piles of crap. Get rid of that thing, if you can get any money for it. Pramila says, my injectors are blocked. I need a little bit of information. If my diesel injectors are blocked, can they consume normal on highway and consume more fuel in the city? Is that possible? Well, yeah, anything's possible. When you're going full speed, it's spraying at a higher level, the engine's going faster, sucking in, and it can run more efficiently. When you're in the city, it's got to be kind of perfect. And if it's off some, that can make fuel consumption a lot worse. Depending on how they're blocked, which ones are blocked, it's a very complex thing. They have to spray a perfectly conical spray. Realize the diesel just is spontaneous combustion. It's logical. It's very logical. They often do that when they have a problem. You were talking about doing a diesel purge, and I'd say go ahead, try it, you know, because you got an Audi diesel, and those injectors cost a small fortune. Sometimes the purge system and a good cleaner can help it out. You know, if not, you're going to spend a ton on that Audi. That's one reason I tell people, buy a German diesel engine. They can last a long time, but when they do break down, you're looking at money to replace it. So if you've got a large diesel engine, some of those things, it can cost you $6,000-$7,000 to swap out the injection. You got to take the whole vehicle apart. Try the cleaning and purging. Pray it helps. But that's totally logical. Relatively normal on the highway. Use a lot more fuel in the city because the injectors are having problems in a diesel. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.